What is up, y'all? Getting XL here, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the Thunderstrike reveal, right? So I know that a lot of people already commented on it. You probably seen some videos. We're just kind of going to go and look at the strike spot. We're not going to obviously watch the whole thing. We're just going to look at some couple key points, some key elements, and then try to just break those things down. I got some notes here or some things I want to discuss. So without further ado, man, we're just going to go ahead and get into it. Let me go ahead and share my screen here so we can get a taste and see what's going on. Um, yeah, so again, we'll just be going to look at some of the highlights, some of the points that I thought were interesting. We could probably just start right there with this screen, right? We can probably just start right there with this screen. So we got, just notice on the left-hand side, his abilities. So we have a basic, a special, ultimate, obviously, and his passive. Basic, ultimate, passive all have awakened abilities, right? We can see the icon for that. The special is at maximum. So we do have 3 awakened abilities on this character. He's got some interesting things, as we can see during the blog post, and we'll take a peek at that next. One thing we want to be mindful of are his tags, right? So we have Hero Global Mystic. And again, we had our video recently, we were talking about the supernatural and all that. I'm not a fan when it comes to like demons and stuff like that, but I did have a couple individuals in the Discord mention, hey, besides that, there's been a lot, right? All those characters are mystic characters. A lot of those characters that we were talking about are mystic characters. And so some people are saying, hey man, there might be a little gear crunch here. There might be a little gear crunch here. So hey, just something to keep in mind. He is a mystic character, so depend on how much power you or how much gear and stuff you got. It'll be a minute, right? We got like 20 some days before chapter 2 officially is done with the store, but we know some of that time overlaps as well. So just keep that in mind. Keep an eye out on that gear. He's a support, so there's some controversy there with that, but it might be a good pick. It might be a good idea. We'll be weighing in a little bit more about that later. As Guardian, and he does give Asgardians a little bit of juice, but I don't think there is a meta Asgardian outside of Odin who this would really affect. And even with Odin, I don't know if what he does is going to be game breaking. So it just might be there for flavor, right? Just might be there for flavor. So let's go ahead and fast forward and see some of the things that they talked about a little bit later on in the video.
They're together. So what made the team decide to do this for
I went a little bit too far. Here we go.
legendary duo who work better when they're together? So what made the team decide to do this for Thunderstrike and Blastar?
All right. So Pathfinder there said, tell me how the volume is. Do I need to turn it up a little bit more? Do I need to turn the volume up a little bit more? I'm trying not to just blow anybody's eardrums out. But Pathfinder said a legendary duo, right? That work together. So again, many of us we got Blastar. He's decent, right? So I thought Blastar was okay, right? He's okay, right? He's not as awesome as Quasar, but we know a lot of people that are like, hey man, it just feels like there's something missing, right? This feels like there's something missing. So maybe that's what the missing piece is. Maybe that was the missing piece. Is he's not meant to be a solo character. He's meant to be a duo character. So again, in this case, it's Blastar and Thunderstrike. In the past, I mean, we've never had a legendary duo. We've never had a legendary duo that was the intent of the character. But in the past, I mean, we had a couple of duos. So we had Longshot and Shatterstar back in the day. That's the one I can remember off the top. They were a duo, right? You really weren't supposed to use one without the other. The kits were intertwined. The way they worked, you could kind of piece them out, right? They were intertwined. So maybe they're trying to bring something like that back, but more of a legendary status. And those two characters, I mean, for their life cycle, it was good, right? I don't know how many people remember that far back. You could type long shot or put dad bros in the chat. if you go that far back, right? Like, because that's what we called them, the dad bros, right? So maybe that's the intent. Maybe the intent was always that Blastar by himself just wasn't supposed to be a thing. Maybe there were supposed to be two peas in a pod, right? Two pieces of the same whole, two sides of the coin. Not sure how I feel about that, but the times that they have done it in the past, it worked out. I'll fast forward a little bit more and catch a couple more points here. I think they were talking about his passive ability. Let's see what
So
they had to
what
say.
makes his passive so special?
Well, the big part of it is that he's got an attack on his passive. So whenever he or any of his allies get attacked, he's going to retaliate with his own attack against the attacker. So it deals damage, but more importantly, there's also a health steal attached to the attack that heals himself and his Blastar ally.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So what he just described there, obviously, right, is that passive ability, and it retaliates. And I'm not 100% sure if I had some question about it. I had to listen to it a couple of times. It seems that it does indeed retaliate, not just you attack Thunderstrike, right? That was one of the questions. If you attack the team, right? If you attack his allies, you attack the team, Thunderstrike retaliates. So it's a ping, right? It's a ping move. We've seen those before with Black Bolt. What's her name? Omega Sentinel, right? Gambit. It's a ping move. The thing that's so we've seen that part before, but the thing that's going to make this stronger is it's going to heal, right? It's going to steal health and give it to Thunderstrike and to Blastar, especially. All right. So those two guys, especially, are going to be sustained. And it should help it. So at least, right, I'm thinking in my mind, they're trying to make it so Blastar should be able to power up and at least do some kind of damage, right? It seems to be sustained to keep these two guys alive. And the longer Blastar is alive, the more opportunity he has to do damage. Thunderstrike also, as legendary character, can do damage. So I'm curious, right? I'm curious to see exactly how it's going to work, what effect that it's going to have. King Cygnus joining us in the chat. King Cygnus here. What's going on, my guy? We're doing okay. We're doing all right. I'm excited for the Thunderstrike announcement. I don't know. I know some people aren't, but I think it's interesting, and I'm curious to see how it goes. And it appears, again, going back to the passive ability, that if Blastar needs to be there. So you got to have both. It needs to be that 2-for-1. Okay. So there's some question on how are they going to survive, right? It is Cosmic Crucible. It can be really bursty. So there's some question on how they're going to survive. So let's see what they got to say here.
So for example, he prevents the enemy team from increasing speed bar until he takes a turn. So if you have teams that have, on spawn, gain a bunch of speed bar, he shuts that down. But after he takes a turn, like the enemy team will be able to gain speed bar again. He also prevents his team from gaining defense down until his first turn is complete. And also attached to that, he prevents the enemy team from gaining offense up during that time. He's also there to prevent, big alpha strikes from happening.
All right. Ooh, they're going to show that ultimate, which we're going to look at that in a second because it's pretty dope. All right. There's a lot going on there. So he said that he prevents enemy speed bar until he takes a turn. Talking about Thunderstrike. Prevents enemy speed bar until he takes a turn. And maybe somebody can correct me. I was trying to look around and look at some of the different characters that did that. Because, there's not a lot, but there are some. So the question was kind of asked, well, why is this legendary? How is this a legendary thing if other people can do that, right? It appears, if I'm understanding correctly, I need to look harder at the information. And maybe it's more explained in the blog. But it appears that, how do I say this? That his team isn't affected that his team isn't affected. It's only the opposing team. Okay. If that's correct, right? So do you think of the Starjammers? I think the Starjammers with what's his name? Howard the Duck. I think he controls it on both sides. So either side, you're just progressing as normal as a team is supposed to go. Neither team can affect their speed necessarily. But it looks like, if I'm understanding this correctly, and I could be mistaken, if I understand this correctly, Thunderstrike is just saying that the opponent is affected that way, meaning you could speed your team up. You could speed your team up if you could do that before Thunderstrike's first turn in some way. If you had another character that could do that, you could speed your team up, but the opponent would not be able to. So perhaps, again, if I'm understanding this, I'm not the best strategist out here, but perhaps that's intentional and can assist in you getting ahead, because the question again is how are you going to get to Blastar's turn? And you need him to have a good first turn, right? With some weight behind it. Same for Thunderstrike, right? He needs to be able to hit and do some damage. So again, it brought out that, man, I wrote this stuff down. Chicken scratch. All right. Stopping the defense down on his side of the field, and the enemy cannot get offense up. So again, they're trying to prevent giant, like you said, alpha strikes. So you're trying to control the other team, make it so even if you do get hit, they can't just annihilate you right out the gate. They can't get offense up. You can't get defense down. So if you were taking hits, it just has to be what it is. So it doesn't sound like they're invulnerable, but they're trying to make it so you don't get obliterated right out of the gate. And if you do land that hit, he's going to retaliate, right? So if you're not able to KO him on that first attack, he is going to retaliate. Your team is going to take damage, or the opposing team is going to take damage. And at least Blastar and Thunderstrike are going to be healed with the lifesteal there. So it seems like the intent is to keep you alive until you can do something. So let's go back and see what's going on in the chat. We got King Cygnus. He says, I'm excited, but it feels like they're just trying to cover their Blastar mistakes. I get it. I'd like to explain, if you would explain that a little bit more. I think that they built it this way. I think that, right, they just didn't kind of say it, but Blastar is weak because he's not meant to be a solo cat. That they're meaning for it to be that duo, but this is a new thing. Again, we did have a duo team in Longshot and Shatterstar back in the day, but we haven't really seen that recently. King Cygnus also saying things like, there's another Phoenix Force member coming eventually, isn't a great answer. At least for his team, for the teams that you can use. I'm curious to see how that Magneto's going to go. Again, I don't want them to lock us into that. You know what I'm saying? Is that what you're saying as well? I don't know if that's what you're feeling. I don't want them to lock us in saying that this is the team, because it feels like they're giving a little bit of flexibility. So I'm hoping that it's not like that, right? That he's kind of locked in, and then till the next Phoenix person comes out, that's going to be our team, right? I'm hoping that they allow for some flexibility, and he was just given an early, easy answer. I'm hoping he was just given an early, easy answer. Jim Zingo, it's hard to be excited about a 90s Thor fill-in. Also, for months, I thought of Thor Infinity Watch as Thunderstrike. Okay. All right. It is interesting. I mean, he's a deep cut, right? I mean, Thunderstrike is it's a deep cut. He was involved with Annihilus. I mean, I think they were trying to stay on brand. They're trying to stay on brand and bring us stuff coming from the age of Annihilus in the comics. And they probably went for a deep cut. A more on brand character would have been a Nova. I think a Nova would have been a more on-brand character, and maybe they got something coming. I haven't heard anything. I don't know. Like, it just boggles my mind, like, why you wouldn't, right? With the Age of Annihilus, Nova was the hero. He's the dude who ended up beating Annihilus at the end. So it seems really weird that they wouldn't use him unless Marvel is telling them they can't, which might be the case because Marvel's doing some, I don't want to say weird stuff. They kind of are doing some weird stuff right now, like telling people what, because they're trying to set up that next, right? They're trying to set up the next big run in the MCU. So, like in the comics right now, stuff is weird. They're just like, there's a bunch of series that are going to go away. The Ultimate series, which is cool, but obviously that's going to go to an end. That's going to go away. X-Men Age of Revelation is playing right now, but again, that's just all going to go away. There's this big thing with Doctor Doom. That's going to end. That's taking up most of the other characters in the Marvel universe, in the comics right now, most of the Avengers and whatnot. And when they beat him, that's all going to go away. So I think Marvel's kind of sitting on some things and maybe isn't letting people use the characters that they would like. I'm guessing on that. Huge guess. King Cygnus. Blastar is disappointing because of the speed meta. You can't get him to 3 bomb bursts before he takes a turn, and he can't counter any meta teams that control speed. I get it. And I think maybe that's what's going on, right? They're trying to give, we'll look more at what's happening. We'll look more at the kit since they released that as well. But I think they're trying to get his 3 bomb bursts in quicker. I think they're trying to help you ramp that up to get that 3 bomb bursts in quicker. So one half of that is the sustain, right? If you attack Thunderstrike or attack the team, I should say, you attack the team, Thunderstrike retaliates. He gets health back. Blastar gets health back. He stops you from being able to use that speed early. It looks like your side can take advantage of speed and the others can't. That's what it looks like to me off the top. And I think this is just a continuation. Is that why Blastar is disappointing? That they won't reach their full potential until the 3rd Phoenix Force. I'm hoping that's not the case. I hear you, man. I hear you. I hear what you're saying, King Cygnus. That's a great observation. I hear what you're saying. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping the intent is not for them to be considered to be part of the Phoenix Force team and kind of just put them in with that team until the next character comes out. I'm hoping that that is not the case. Let's take a look back at the video here. We're going to look at the Ultimate, and he was going to tell us what it was going to
there to prevent, big alpha strikes from happening.
Thunderstrike also has a really powerful ultimate ability, so why don't you give us a rundown of what his ult does?
The first thing he does is that he applies blind to a random enemy support character. Him being a Crucible character, you can probably guess who that is. Just look at the Accursed team, figure out who their support is.
All right. So the first part of that, I got him in an unflattering pose there. I got him in an unflattering pose there. So that ultimate, she's going to blind that random enemy support. So obviously the intent he's saying is the Accursed. The intent is to go after the Accursed team on the defensive side. So that means, right, they're trying to make them less likely, I guess, to put on a defensive side. Once Thunderstrike is up and running, I mean, it's going to be a minute, but once he's up and running, it looks like they're trying to tone back the Accursed from the defensive side of the ball. Who else? I should have probably looked in the game, right? What other big supports are there? I think we saw a couple. I think Groot, but he doesn't go very quickly. And I don't know if the blind would hurt him. Who else did we see? For support. Apocalypse is a support, but I mean, he's getting older. You're not really going to be worried about him. And I think he's got immunity, right? So you can't blind him. Oh, let's see here. Other support characters. Because some of this, right? I don't know how much of that is locked into the Crucible. Falcon Joaquin, Victoria Hand. That's on Thunderbolts, obviously. So Jean Grey is a support in Crucible. I guess I don't think her attacks are unavoidable. So I'm just looking through really quickly here. This attack cannot miss. So her special, it wouldn't stop her special. Her special cannot miss. Omega Sentinel, that would stop the pings from Omega Sentinel. Emma Frost X-Men. But I mean, are we using her in Crucible? Her mind control attack. But she won't be able to use her speed bar. There's not a whole lot. Agatha Harkness, she hits hard. That'll make her miss. Superior Spider-Man. So with the new Insidious 6, let's see. It's a heal, but it's not unblock or not unavoidable. An ability block. It cannot be blocked or counterattacked, but it's not unavoidable. So I guess it'll disrupt those characters' first attacks. You're right. Jean Grey won't be on defense. That's a great call. Jean Grey won't be on defense. Yeah, man, I'm just spitballing. Obviously, I'm just spitballing. So I guess it's primarily just for the accursed. Unless we got stuff still to come. Right? Unless we got stuff still to come. It is October. They wouldn't counter a team that doesn't make sense, right? They wouldn't counter a team that hasn't showed up yet. Thunderstrike will make Blastar better, but the point about now not countering the top meta teams is still going to make him feel bad, I think, unless I'm wrong, and Thunderstrike helps. I think they want him to counter. He says later on in the video, right? He does say Starjammers, Accursed, what is AISEO? So I mean, you're a much better Crucible player than I am, King Cygnus, for sure. You're a much better Crucible player, so you see stuff up there in the big dogs that I definitely don't see. So if you guys, I mean, if you can already feel that you don't think he's going to make an impact, I think that's something, right? That is something worth saying. If you don't see how this is actually going to help, again, give some evidence, give some proofs. But I think that's important to say if that's how you really feel about the situation. Let's keep going.
But probably even more powerful is whoever his primary target is for his ultimate ability is going to lose 2 ultimate ability energy. So currently in Crucible, we have a lot of characters who open up with their ultimate. It's really powerful. It sets the pacing for the match. Thunderstrike is able to essentially shut that down.
All right. So that's the other half of the ultimate. It removes ultimate ability energy. And if we got time later, we'll peek at the blog because I think there's some adjustments not adjustments. There's just some clarification. How about that? That's a better word. It's not an adjustment. It's just clarification to this ability and how it's going to work. But I mean, that's a big deal, right? Removing ultimate ability energy, that's a big deal. He's right? In most cases, you got characters that have these ultimates that's the end. They get it off. That's the end of the match. And so if you can remove that ability energy, then once again, that kind of extends the match. And so maybe that's what they're going for, is they're just trying to extend the match to get Blastar powered up. They're just kind of being a nuisance to extend the match and see if Blastar can get powered up. It looks like all of his abilities come down to all of Thunderstrike's abilities come down to running interference for Blastar. Let's see, King Cygnus. It comes down to the speed. He's going to make Blastar auto win any team on defense that doesn't control speed, which is better, but people want them to counter the top meta teams too. I can feel that, especially as a legendary character, as a duo, right? 2 legendary characters. You're gonna want them to be big and bad and nasty. I can feel that. I can feel that. And it is interesting. Interesting mechanic with the, I agree, with the taking away of the energy. Just trying again. I think, in my opinion, they're just trying to prolong the match so Blastar can go. The living bomb burst. We'll go ahead and fast forward to the special. Yeah.
Jumping to his special, it also has blind. It's really focused on making his enemies miss here, which I guess makes sense with all that lightning flying around, am I right?
You're not supposed to look directly at a lightning strike. It's actually really bright.
But I want to look.
Yeah, I know, it's really cool. It's like, now it's the last thing I ever saw.
But yeah, what else can you tell us about his special?
Sure. Like you said, it blinds on primary, but if he's on Crucible offense, he's got Blastar as an ally. He'll also blind all of the adjacent targets, as well as there's another health steal attached to this. Again, he heals himself and his Blastar ally.
All right. So, I mean, what do you think? That seems again, it looks like it's stalling for Blastar, right? Because it's gonna put blind on people. He said to make people miss, and if Blastar's on the team, so you're running them together as a duo, as a pair, you can blind your target and the adjacents. So 2, maybe 3 of the characters will be blind. So unless they have unavoidable attack of some sort, they're gonna miss. So you were taking away somebody's ability to use their ultimate. And then this is the special. So it depends. I guess it depends on how you want to open. Because I think all of his abilities are available turn 1. So it depends on how you want to open. So either you're going to open trying to keep them under control, or you're going to open to blind 3 out of the 5 characters so that they use their ability and they make a miss. If the attack is susceptible to blind, right? If it's not unavoidable. So again, I think the intent is to buy time for Blastar. I think that's the intent. King Cygnus. The problem with stalling is it can hurt your efficiency points. It's a valid point, man, because that's how you score. That's how you score, right? So that's how you score. Is efficiency. So if people are taking turns, even though you're not taking damage, they're still necessary. They're still, they're still scoring. I'm getting myself confused here, right? They're still creeping up on you in the scoreboard because you're taking more turns. Yeah, 100%, right? 100%. Stall to win works in war and Crucible. Stalling too long costs efficiency. I agree. Let's see what else he said. Where are we in a discussion here? There's a clarification about calling the character in, right?
But he has callouts in Thunderstrike's abilities as well, right? On the special and on the ult.
Yes. On both of those abilities, he specifically says to call a Blastar ally to attack his primary target.
Okay, and you and I were talking a little bit earlier today about what that actually means. I think it would make sense to kind of explain that here for the folks at home.
I know exactly what you're talking about. So we have a lot of characters that say like, hey, you prevent like assist chance from going off, or you prevent the assist now proc. This isn't either of those things because this is actually through his normal action call. This assist will go through even if you're going up against a team that says you have 0% chance to assist.
Right. I mean,
okay. So this is interesting, right? This is interesting. The assist, that's what we're calling it, but it's not an assist. It's simply part of his ability. It says call in blast our character. Okay. So it won't be negated by characters that and abilities that eliminate assists. Now, again, I'm not super dialed in on this. Is this a clarification? Right? They use Red Skull as the example to say Red Skull has an ability that just calls for a bunch of the minions to attack. So is this how it has always worked? Or is this a clarification? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it happens in games. Sometimes it happens in games where you read it one way, especially if you play a lot of like competitive, like tabletop games and stuff like that, card games and whatnot. The rules say this, and then the characters, those games work because here's the rules, and then the character's card allows you to break the rules. That's usually how those games go, right? So sometimes there needs to be a clarification between how I understood it, like Mobile Gamer always says, what the person designed it to be, what the judge feels about it, and then what you as the player feel about it. And those three things could be three different things. So when that happens, they need clarification. So is that what this is? A clarification? Or is this always how it worked? I don't know how many. So Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four. I'm not looking at it right now. Do they have assists? They do call for assists, right? But do they call for another member to attack? You know what I'm saying? Or let's take a look here. Do they call for another member to attack, or do they just call for assists? Oh, let's see. Johnny Storm is extending negative effects. The Thing, he's probably called to assist, right? In war, enemy attacks his character. Attack that enemy. So is that the same thing? It doesn't say assist with Ben Grimm. It says if somebody attacks his character or an ally and they don't have ability block, attack that enemy. So is Ben Grimm? We got to look now. Tomorrow in arena or something, I got to look. So now, am I making sense? Because it doesn't say that. It doesn't say assist. Fantastic Four. This is Sue Storm, MCU. When Fantastic Four uses their special or ultimate, attack the most injured enemy for damage. So that's not an assist, right? That's a ping. So they'll still work, right? I'm assuming. It's just one of those things I haven't thought long and hard about it. We haven't had to think about it that much, but I guess we'll have to see. So it stops assists. So it should stop Odin from doing anything until no, they don't stop Odin. A curse stops Odin. So cursed has the no assist mechanic. So they're using it to get around the accursed, right? But these other items, now it's making me think. I hear you, King Cygnus. I don't know either. But it's making me think, is this something that we've seen before? Is this how it's always worked? Or is this a clarification to what's going on? So then he calls out the teams that he's expecting to be beaten.
But what teams can we expect this new duo to be able to take on that Blastar couldn't handle alone?
Yeah, so he is going to be able to take on things like a Curse with Azazel, Starjammers, so and a lot of those other like kind of powerful Crucible teams. But again, you're kind of in this weird situation with a duo because many of our more recent Crucible teams require at least 4 characters with their trait. or even their entire team, as with like Immortal X-Men or Starjammers. So, but we have another duo in Crucible right now in the form of Phoenix Force. So Phoenix and Omega Red Phoenix, and I'm sure people can figure out
you're talking about
how
before.
to add a powerful fifth solo to a team like that. So, and also Phoenix Force might be getting some more characters in the future. So you'll have a trio and a duo to put together in Crucible.
So that's what we were talking about a little bit earlier. So he's saying a curse with Azazel Starjammers are teams that can be targeted and beaten. So I don't know how big a deal that is. You guys would know we're playing more at the top. I struggle with a cursed. King Cygnus is confirming. That's what that's what we were talking about earlier. The gentleman is referring to the Phoenix Force as possibly being the team, and I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping that's not the case, that they're meant to be on that team. But let's see. So he said that most Crucible teams need 4 or 5 members, which is true, right? Because they were leaning into you want to have the whole teams, trying to simplify the game. So I definitely early on was a proponent of that. I thought that was good. I thought that the game needed it, but I thought it would only take like a couple teams to correct the issues that they were having. And obviously that's not the case. So I think that if it's more than a couple teams to fix it, then I'm all about going in a complete other direction and just let the people who want to make up the stuff, who want to do the theory crafting, just let them have at it. Right. So if we're going to be getting more teams like this is pretty significant. 2 legendary characters that are designed to work together. If they're going to lean more into the theory crafting side, like I think that's good. Right. You gotta have that balance. You want people to learn the game and whatnot. And if you don't want it to be too complex, but you can't stay in a kindergarten mode forever. If it takes more than 1 or 2 teams to fix it, like it looks like that's the case, then just let it go, man. Just have at it. We might have to, off the subject, we might need some defensive teams. And I know people don't want to hear that, but maybe they would be a dual traded team. Like it would be a raid team or something like that doubles as a crazy war or Crucible defense team. You need some type of like brick wall, stop, boss mode teams on occasion to help reset the meta. Again, I'm not a huge Crucible player, but I know that you need that in the war. People didn't like the symbiotes when they came in. People didn't like heroes for hire. People, I get it, man. You get mad, you get frustrated if you can't beat a room, but you need to have stuff like that. You have to have walls that you need to think about, or else, right, the game just gets really stale, right? If there's only 2-ish teams that are your difficult teams, and everything else is just a roll of the dice. I don't know. You guys tell me. So I think that's all I had for the video, right? I'm wondering again. I had a question here wondering about theory crafting. Like, is it back? Like, would you be? Because here we got October. We're getting Hellcat soon. That means I think have we seen stuff for Zombie Kestrel? She's in the danger room, right? As a character you can choose. So then we're getting into November and December. And usually Scopely kind of like takes those months off. Scopely kind of takes those months off. So the team is kind of plug and play anyway, right? The team's kind of plug and play anyway at that point. Whoever's coming out in those 2 months. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. It's like this time last. Oh no, confusing myself. All right, so let's take a look at the blog because there is some clarifications there concerning what they were talking about. So that's a cool image for Thunderstrike. I think that's pretty dope with the motion blur. That's pretty legit. We won't read the information. Well, maybe a little bit. So Thunderstrike, Eric Masterson, and if you look at the history, he did indeed fight with Annihilus. So I believe that's why he is in the game. Meant for Crucible, legendary duo with Blastar. And they say with theory crafting, key theory crafting, Thunderstrike and Blastar can rule top Crucible defenses like Accursed and tricky Illuminati combinations. So how's Illuminati feeling at the end game right now? Are they still viable? Like, I don't know. I'm not at the end game, but at the high level of Crucible. They're still working for me, but I don't know what they look like for you guys higher up. Speed 126. So that was a question, right? That was a question that Dorky had. I know. Speed 126. So where does that fall with Blastar? Speed 126. Let's look him up. Blastar speed is 127. So Blastar is going to go first. So is that going to work? Is that going to work for what's going on? I don't know. I know Dorky was concerned about he want Thunderstrike to go first so that you could get those assists in. Let's see. We'll just keep going. Maybe there's something that we're missing here because they must have tried it out, right? They must have tried it out. So we got the basic. You're going to attack for damage, like you said. On Awakened, you got more damage, 2 bleeds, and a charge to go with his charge mechanic, right? The Awaken on Crucible offense reduced the duration of regeneration on primary and adjacent targets by 2. Okay. And if he's just getting called in to do that, it doesn't look like that happened. It does with the Awakened on Crucible offense, reduce the duration of regen on primary adjacent by 2. So if he gets called in for that with the Awakened, it still works. Interesting. Still happens. Who's got regeneration early in the game like that? Starjammers? I don't know. Well, I don't know. Special lightning lash. Is it? It says last. Is it lash? Lightning last. Energy 4/4. So you could use this right away, and it's worth saying that the ultimate energy 10/10 you can use it right away. So you can open either one here. Either way, you can open. So maybe that's the point. He's gonna go first. He's gonna call Blastar. Blastar is going to assist. No, yeah, you're right. No, he doesn't go first. Blastar goes first. So Blastar is going to go. So maybe just basic. I don't know what the point is. Maybe just basic. Thunderstrike's going to call Blastar in. He's going to get his speed up. We'll see. Lightning last. I think it's supposed to be lightning lash. I'm not sure. He's going to attack for damage. Apply blind. Clear 2 random negative effects from self and all allies. Not bad. Heal for 20% of this character's max health. I think that's just a basic heal because it's different than the on Crucible offense steal health. So apply blind to the primary. On a Crucible offense, he's going to apply blind to adjacents as well. So that's up to 3 targets. More if you can bring them together, right? If you got good old what's that dude's name? Symbiote, Silver Surfer, Symbiote. If you got him, you can bring them all together. Invisible Woman, bring them all together. Steal 20% health from primary and adjacents. Redistribute 50% of that to himself and Blastar by passing heal block. And then call a random Blastar ally to assist. So what happens? Blastar already goes. You basic. You get some bomb burst. You get some speed bar. Thank you, brothers. King Cygnus and Jim Zingo with the Void Knight. Thank you. I don't know. We have to see it in action, but that's what I'm seeing. So Blastar goes first. He gets some speed bar. Then Thunderstrike's gonna go. So let's say you use this. He calls Blastar to assist. He gets more speed bar. So would that be at about? He'd be at about 60% Blastar for speed at that time. Maybe. Am I thinking correctly? Ultimate. Apply blind to a random support. So we know that was a Satana. Attack all enemies for damage. Apply trauma. Steal health. Redistribute. Crucible offense. Apply safeguard. Defense up and immunity to Blastar. So that's important. That's big. Safeguard, defense up, and immunity. That's big. That'll stop him from getting controlled. Call a random Blastar to assist, and it's unavoidable. Awakened ability on the ultimate. What's different? On Crucible offense, before the attack. So this was different. Before the attack, reduce the duration of all positive effects on all enemies by 2. So that's a decay. So we got a decay. Reduce the duration of all positive effects on all enemies. That ain't bad. By 2. So if somebody's taunting or something like that, you can get rid of it. If that target is a villain, then you'll take the 2 ability energy from the primary target. But if they're a hero, it will be ability block. Okay. So it's not universal. You're not just stealing ability energy from everybody. They need to be a villain character. If they're a hero character, instead you ability block. So this might be still, I mean, this is good, right? Because before the attack, you're going to decay their positive effects. So if they have safeguard immunity, this looks like this activates first. You get the decay. Next up, you get the control effect, taking the energy or the ability block. If I'm understanding that correctly. It looks like that's how it works. If I'm understanding that correctly. Passive ability on turn. Heal for 20%. If he's charged, so we talked about that basic. Then you barrier yourself, barrier Blastar, and all Asgardians. The only decent Asgardian right now is Odin. He's gonna have barrier anyway. Maybe if it's gone, you can rebarrier him. I don't know. So it might just be for flavor. It's probably not for doing a whole lot, unless we're going to get some more Asgardian allies. So again, we do have November and December. I'm going to assume between those 2 months, you're going to get a war team and a Crucible team. That's usually how it goes. That we'll get a war team and a Crucible team. I don't know anything yet. I haven't seen the new teams yet. I didn't even know. They didn't even show us Thunderstrike. So we got the PNGs, the pictures of them like today. So I don't know who's coming next. When an enemy attacks his character or an ally. So that's, again, clarifying that. I thought it was just Thunderstrike. That's how I heard it. But obviously, if the team is attacked, he's going to retaliate for 300% damage. On Crucible offense, that's going to steal health and put that to Blastar. And until he completes a turn, Mr. Thunderstrike, enemies cannot gain defense up. Allies cannot gain offense down. Enemies cannot gain defense up. Allies cannot gain offense down. I thought that was backwards when he said it. I thought he said the opposite of that in the Strike Force, right? In the strike time. That you couldn't get defense down. Maybe that's later on in the, maybe that's part of the Awakened passive. I thought that's what he said, that we couldn't get defense down and they can't get offense up. so that they wouldn't be able to do some type of big burst attack early. Awakened. On turn, we still got the same things here, I believe. This is the same. When an enemy attacks, the heal kicks in. That looks the same on Crucible offense. Enemies cannot gain defense up. Allies cannot gain offense down. If Blastar is an ally, or excuse me, if Blastar is an ally until the character takes a turn, enemies cannot fill speed bar for themselves, allies, or enemies. So I think that, so do I understand it wrong? If Blastar is an ally until this character takes a turn, enemies, so that's the people on the other side of you, right? Your opponent cannot get speed bar for themselves. Allies, which would be the opponent's team, or enemies, which would be my team, right? So do I understand it wrong? That it is just like Howard the Duck, that nobody can get extra speed? I must be mistaken. Okay. So I thought that you'd be able to still speed your team up in order to get Blastar to go. But it looks like I'm wrong, if I'm understanding that correctly. And if Blastar is an ally, enemies can't have their speed or resistance increased except by positive effects. All right. Well, in true Gideon fashion, I'm more confused now than I was before. How about you? Right? I probably understood some stuff wrong. So what do you think? I mean, as far as a character goes for Marvel, just the character himself, I'm digging it. I like it. I think it's cool. Thunderstrike's awesome. As far as how it will impact the game, we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see. I'm not sure what I'm reading. Again, I'm not the most strategic person on the planet, so I'm not 100% sure what I'm seeing. I need to see it. So when they let us play around with the character, that'll be good. And let us play around with the character, then I'll know, right? Then we'll know for sure. So King Cygnus is saying, as a Crucible fan, can't be mad. Okay. Right. So maybe this isn't the biggest, baddest stuff, but it looks like something's going to happen. You are getting another Crucible character. And then as time goes on, I mean, well, I don't know. They're probably meant to be together. I was thinking as time goes on, you could maybe split them up, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Annihilus comes out, though. I mean, Quasar is strong. I'm going to assume that effect with the Health Steal and all that, we're just going to assume that Annihilus is going to get to use that too. And I'm sure in some way he's going to pump Blastar up even more to get those bomb bursts going faster. But I mean, we're a long way from that. So when do you think chapter 3 is going to kick off? When do you think chapter 3 is going to kick off? I'm wondering. And I'm wondering what these other teams are going to be in between now and then. Well, not now and then, but between now and the end of the year. So I don't know. Tell me what you think. Leave it in the comments. I have an idea, slightly off the subject. I have an idea for how to make Battle World awesome. I got some ideas. I'm going to be having a video about that, I think, this weekend. If you have any ideas yourself, feel free to throw them in on a Discord, right? And I'll put them together. I'll always give people credit for their ideas that they come up with, because I think the game, like, here's the thing we want to take away from Marvel Strike Force. A lot of people don't realize they are 100% listening. The developers are 100% listening. If you have some great ideas, they'll take it and implement it and put in the game. They will. But again, they got to be like great ideas. It can't just be like ideas that Gideon likes. Gideon would like the game to do this. They're not going to take that. But if it's something that it looks like the community really, really wants, that would change the game, right? It's like they're thinking about adding rooms to Crucible and War. Right. I know it's been talked about for a while, but people seem to be, they got the tech now, they got the money now to do it. They want to do it because that's what people said that they wanted. But hey, so let me know what you think about Thunderstrike. If you got any ideas for how to improve Battle World, I'm all for it. Thanks for tuning in. Take care of yourself and your family. Make sure that you're eating right. It's nighttime, so make sure you get some sleep. Sleep well. And we'll catch you on the next one. Peace out, folks. I got a double